What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Awards Buzz podcast. I am your host, Ricky Valero. On today's episode, I'm going to be breaking down the Vegas odds for the Best Director race. Now, we didn't break these down 2 weeks ago. I accidentally forgot about this race for somehow, and I thought I made a video because I was like, this is where we made money last time. This is where we made money this time, but we did not make any money because we didn't put any money down. But that being said, there is still an opportunity as all of our directors, unlike some of the other categories, are plus favorites as we speak right now. That being said, folks, let me know in the comments below who you think the 5 directors that are going to be nominated for Best Director January 17th when the nominations are announced, followed by letting me know who you think is going to take home Best Director at the upcoming 97th Annual Academy Awards. Now, let's go ahead and talk about what the odds were 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, Brady Corbet was favorite at plus 275 for The Brutalist. Jaquez Adored for Amelia Perez was plus 275. Sean Baker for Honor was plus 275. Denis Villanueva for Dune Part 2 plus 450. Edward Berger for Conclave at plus 700. And Pablo Larraín for Maria plus 1,000. Those were the odds then. What are the odds now, you might ask? Let's take a look at them currently right here on Bovado. Bovado has the current odds as a tie, a two-man race between Sean Baker for Honor and Brady Corbet for The Brutalist. This is the first time you're watching this podcast. First off, thank you. Second off, let's take a look at my handy dandy betting odds calculator so that I can share with you what plus 115 means on the odds scale. Right. Plus 115 means we're going to bring home some money. We're going to throw $10 down on plus 115 and we're going to win $11.50. That means your implied odd total is 46.5%. That means right now that Vegas believes there's a 46% chance that Brady Corbet wins, and there's a 46% chance that Sean Baker wins the Academy Award for Best Director. Now, that's kind of what we see here when you look at the chart. It is a two-man race between those two. Kind of off in the forefront a little bit, kind of off a little bit further out. Denis Villanueva for Dune Part 2, plus 350. Edward Berger at plus 375. Now, Berger's odds went from plus 700 a few weeks ago to plus 375. And then Denis went from plus 450 down to plus 350. Now, we see one of the big things that have shifted here was Adard went from plus 275 to plus 700. I do think that it's interesting that I firmly believe that these three are locked in for nominations. Now, where it goes from there is definitely where things get interesting. We've seen several films, kind of like Ramel Ross's Nickel Boys. We've seen John Chu for Wicked Part 1. We see Corla Farget for The Substance, kind of sneaking in those conversations for Best Director in several different shows, including the Golden Globes and Critics' Choice. But again, this isn't about nominations. What we're looking at is a big board about who we think is going to meet, who's going to win the Academy Award. That is the big difference here. If it was nominations, I wish you can bet on who would be nominated because I really feel like that would be really, really cool. But you can't. We can only bet on who we think is going to win. That being said, it's one interesting thing to note is when you're looking at the odds currently, according to Vegas, for DraftKings, Denis is plus 700 over there. Edward Berger's plus 900. And then, of course, Baker and Corbet are plus 185 and plus 175. But that being said, where can we make money? Okay, let's first give our predictions. Okay, top 5 right now, I believe Corbet, Baker, Denis, Berger. And I have Ramel Ross in right now. I really do. I would love to see Ramel Ross in there. I think that he has a strong chance of making it in. I feel like if people make enough noise for him, we can see it happen. But I've been let down so many times by the Academy. It hurts my soul to watch him continuously get let down by that. But for me, currently right now, I think that the Best Director race obviously comes down to Corbet and Baker. Who's going to win? Who's going to me, as somebody that's not a big fan of either one of these movies, I find it interesting because now I break it down to brass tactics. You have a 3.5-hour movie about the American dream and how it's portrayed and stuff like that. And then on Sean Baker's Honora, you have a totally different movie, very flashy, very stylistic, very different. The Brutalist, a slow burn, as you could say, while Honora is kind of this, faster pace, kind of more in your face than I think the Brutalist would be. I teeter totter back and forth between these two because I really like to think that there's a world where Denis is still kind of a sleeper, that he could still wake up and be like, yeah, we're going to give the actual best director to the actual best directed film of 2024. And that's Dune Part 2. I will be, after this episode, I will be sprinkling a little bit on Denis. I'm going to throw $10 on Denis. I think it's probably a waste of money, 100%, but I got to do it just because there's an inkling in me. His odds went from plus 450 to plus 350. Him missing the Globes is probably part of the reason why I still think that they're a little bit high. Even at plus 350, I think I think it's probably like less than 20%. Yeah, 22% chance implied odds at winning the Academy Award right now. It's not very sexy. But if at the end of the day, if I was looking to bet on one of these guys, I'm probably going to bet on Brady Corbet. That to me is, I think, where the Academy will go. I think. And I just think that it's a 3.5 hour movie. It's very, it's kind of, it just tells a story that is specific to the time. And I think because of that, that's the reason why we're looking at this movie being the front runner across the board in several different categories. I don't think it's going to win Best Picture. That's another topic for a different episode. But to me, I do think that Brady's going to walk away with the Best Director Oscar. And because of that, you're still looking at an opportunity at making money on him. If you bet $10 right now at the 46% implied odds, you're going to make $11.50. Obviously, let's just say you want to bet $100. You're going to win $115. The higher you bet, the more you do. Obviously, please, for the life of me, bet responsibly. That being said, that is all I've got for this week's episode for Best Director. Again, Corbet versus Baker. That's what we're looking at right now. It's a two-man race, and I don't think that that's going to stop anytime soon because of that. Again, pick or choose. You got them at both of them at plus 115 right now. You have good odds for one of them to win if you believe in one or the other. Thank you guys so much for tuning in for another episode. We'll be back with our next episode focusing on Best Picture.